Well, aloha, everybody. It is Thursday, November 7th, 2024. You've got two of the Ninja Turtles here. I'm Donatello. This is Michelangelo. And
I
we're going to be
wanted to
talking
be
about Ninja
Michelangelo.
Turtles.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Ninja Turtles for the next hour and a half. I guess we could talk about the DB Cooper conference coming up next week. Maybe that would be more appropriate for our audience. Darren was just telling me about him restoring a AMC Eagle from 1986, which I had to Google that.
I didn't really restore it. I just got it running and driving, or I'm trying to.
No. Well, I had to Google what that was. I wasn't even aware of what an AMC was. He informed me they were purchased by Chrysler. I wasn't even aware of that. So let's see. So people want Ninja Turtles. I don't know. I mean, who was your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Michelangelo for sure.
Yeah, he was kind of the cool one, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Liked to party.
He had nunchucks. I mean, I guess I'm
that
kind of
wouldn't
like
be my weapon of choice though. Nunchuck seems like a bad idea.
I'd like the sword. I mean, Leonardo had the best weapon. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Drew is saying I have a Donatello vibe. So yeah, I guess you give me a stick. That's all he had was a stick. He was the smart one though, I think, right? Wasn't Donatello like the nerd?
Yes.
I think he was the one that like made like the inventions and shit. So and then it's the rat. Let's see, we'll make what was the rat's name?
Splinter.
Master Splinter, yeah. And then there's Shredder, yeah. So Blevins can be Shredder. How about that? We'll make Grider the Brain. Wasn't there a character called Brain who was like
I think his name was Craig.
Crane the Brain, yeah. That can be Dan Grider. How about that? Okay. Ninja Turtle talk. All right, Cowabunga dudes. That's right, Mary Johns. All right. Packer Jack says AMC was made in my hometown of Milwaukee, which purchased by Chrysler. Darren knows things about cars. Darren, who bought Datsun? Is that Nissan?
Datsun is Nissan. They thought that Nissan wouldn't fly in America, so they made up a word that they thought Americans would like, and that was Datsun.
Oh, okay. There's some, I wish it was. There's some Japanese word. I forget. Anyway, see, eating pizza and good at fighting. I'm in, says DB Cooper. Let's see. All right, so I want to give some shout outs. I want to say hello to Drew Daniel, who is our accountant for the Cooper Vortex events. He is our friendly neighborhood accountant. He's handling our funds. Hey, there's Angie. Let's see. A lot of some Zodiac news recently for Angie and them to go through. Let's see, the legs are there. Mary Johns is coming to us from New Zealand. She's our Kiwi on, I guess, North Island. Isn't North Island the one that has all the, isn't that where Auckland is, I think like South Island's like it's all the like the Lord of the Rings stuff. Maybe I have it backwards. I don't know.
If this is going to be about geography, I'm out.
Yeah, I love geography. Let's see. Speaking of that, hello to Poirot in England. Let's see. Jay Weiss is always there. Schaefer, hello, Schaefer. Hobbitland is in Hobbitland. Okay, so introductions are over, everybody. Let us know how we sound. So everybody says ahoy, ahoy. Hey, Schaefer. She is, they are stoked for DB Cooper Con. So we were just discussing that I was telling Darren that I'm really excited for him to be able to interview. So Darren's our MC. Darren's going to be doing most of the
heavy lifting
interviews, the heavy lifting. Yes. Talking to people. And I will be, oh man, I think I just broke. I'm holding in my hand. So Lil Coop's cigarette just like fell out of his hand. And so I have to like put it back in his hand somehow. So by the way, Lil Coop will be in attendance. And I actually just sent the money bag that I made. I sent that to John Higgins, who's our friend in the Vortex. I mailed it to Seattle because I didn't want to go through the airport with a 25-pound money bag that has 10,000 cut pieces of paper in it.
Next to your attaché case, with a fake bomb.
With the fake bomb too. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. Anybody's coming to CooperCon, come pick up the bag that's going to be on the table. When you guys pick up DB Cooper's bag, which literally I researched it. a piece of paper is basically the same weight as a dollar bill, like if you cut it. And I literally cut $10,000 size pieces of paper because I'm
Shocking.
I know. And when you pick that thing up, you guys are going to go, "Oh my God." Like that's the first reaction. It is like picking up an anvil because it's so dense. It's like, this guy probably lost this shit when he jumped. I'm like, yeah, probably so. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Somebody says, Packer says he thinks that Ryan needs to make a Lil Barb Dayton for Darren. That would
I would love that, actually. I would love that.
Lil Barb. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, at least Barb Dayton beat Vincent Peterson in that poll that we did. If anybody watched my most recent video.
I just watched that in preparation for this show.
What'd you think?
I liked it quite a bit. It's interesting where people vote on that stuff. I think a lot of it just comes down to who you personally like.
Yeah, exactly. Because the evidence for, I mean, that's the thing about Cooper suspects is really the evidence for all of them is entirely circumstantial. Like,
oh yeah, and many of them, yeah, that could be DB Cooper. That completely fits, but you can't push them over that edge to, oh yeah, and he was in Portland that day, and oh yeah, he flew into Portland or he stayed in Portland that night.
Yeah, it all except I keep harping on it, that one guy who I can't say his name because his family don't want me to, who's like, oh yeah, he left his crap in the hotel the night before in Portland.
I looked
dies
into that suspect.
a week later.
I spoke with that guy on the phone, and it's really interesting until you hear his age, and then it's like, I'm out.
I know it's like, I know that he spoke to you too, and the guy is sincere. Like it's not and it's
absolutely
real.
And not not a loon.
No,
he's a good guy.
Yeah, and when you look into it, and like I even like did newspapers.com searches to make sure what he was telling me was true, all true. I mean, this guy's brother was like almost like a West Coast version of Frank Abagnale, sort of, very
absolutely
similar.
Or that even that character Tom Cruise played in that Air America movie.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's like, God, if this guy was, I mean, who leaves their stuff in Portland the night before the hijacking and dies a week later in Denver of internal injuries? It's like, who owned a 727 at one point. It's like,
or maybe on paper owned a 727.
Yes. It's like, oh my God. Let's see. Okay. So we're going to go through this. By the way, CooperCon tickets, our merch store is up. We finally have some cool merch. Tessa Lauren designed all this stuff. I was surprised to see that like the DB Cooper, Where Are You design was not copyrighted. So like anybody can put DB Cooper, Where Are You with the logo on a shirt, apparently. And that's kind of the good news about the Cooper sketches too, is that's government work product, which can't be copyrighted. So like,
right,
you can put a Cooper sketch on anything.
Yeah, manipulate the sketch however you like.
Yeah, or manipulate the files. I mean, hell, my book has lots of these FBI files in it, and that's part of my pitch to the publishers. I'm like, look, it's got a lot of pictures in it, but they're all government pictures. You don't pay a cent. So is merch going to be for sale at DB CooperCon? I don't think that the product is coming in until like the 19th, so I don't think so, which sucks. But it's okay. You'd order it online. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just do a preview of everything. Let me pull up I should have it with me, but see the schedule here, which changes, which we finally have settled kind of on the schedule, what we're going to be doing. But Darren is going to be the MC, so he'll be doing a lot of the interviews. Let's see. So first off, one thing Darren will not be doing is talking over Tom K. So Tom K is starting us out on Friday. He's got some really cool Thai news that is, I mean, I've heard rumors, even me, even the Cooper sleuth. This is so top secret. Nobody's telling me shit. So, but I've heard like drips from a faucet about it, what it is, and it's really cool. It's exciting actually. So I'm really cool. And Tom was so excited about it. Tom emailed me. He goes, make sure that I go first on Friday because I want people to talk about it all weekend. And I was like, okay. So, all right, that'd be great. And so Tom will be doing that. And the good news is this time we're giving Tom 2 sessions. He's going to have one on Friday and then I think one on probably Sunday, because at the past CooperCons, no, it is not the Cumberlite rock that Euless found in Rhode Island or wherever it is. No, this is not that. Anyway, so Tom is going to have 2 sessions, and basically we told him to look, dude, because at the past CooperCons, Darren, you've been to 1 or 2?
Let's see. I went to 19 and 20.
Okay.
And,
so
no, 3, 19, 20, and 21. I missed 22 and 23.
Did they not have one in 20?
Okay.
Was it COVID?
I did Eric's first one. Maybe I've only been to 2. Maybe you're right about that. So it would have been... 19, no, I've been to 3. I went to 18, 19, and 21.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what it was. 18, 19,
because 20 was canceled.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think y'all were still wearing the masks at the 21 conference, I think.
Yes.
Right. That's
yes.
lame.
And 18 I went to as a civilian.
What's funny about that is that in 22, everybody ended up getting COVID anyway. Literally, like somebody had COVID the last night on Sunday. After the event was over, everybody went to V23. It was me and Tom K and a couple other people. I think the Voights were there. I think everybody ended up with COVID at V23 that night when it went home with COVID. So it would, Joe Rogan should have a bunch of these guys on. Yeah, dude, have me and Darren and Nikki on for
I'd be into
Joe
that.
Rogan. Absolutely. If he had that one dork on there to talk about ancient archaeology or whatever, then he can have us. Flint Dibble was that guy's name. He took it to Graham Hancock, and I'm glad he did. I am not a proponent of ancient archaeology. In fact, this is not me being woke, but I do think that, like, when people, it's almost like reverse racism when they're like, oh, people, these Mexicans, they couldn't have built the pyramids. Must have been aliens. It's like, well, no, they did.
Yeah, but Graham Hancock isn't saying it's aliens. How dare you? I like Graham Hancock.
He's saying it's Atlantis. Right?
No, he's not saying it's Atlantis. He's saying that civilizations were a lot farther along than we thought 12,000 years ago. And then there was some sort of apocalypse. God, I wish I could remember the term he always uses. The
Younger Dryas.
Younger Dryas. Yes, thank you. And then that wiped us back. But he doesn't say it's aliens.
Did y'all see that that the guy who thought he found Amelia Earhart's plane, it's actually a rock? Did y'all see that?
Oh, is that the one that was like 2 miles deep or something crazy?
Yeah, it looked just like a Electra. Well, it was a rock formation.
Dang.
Okay, yeah. That's why, that's my biggest fear about Cooper. Like I said, I've always feared that, like, we're gonna find the hair slide, and they're gonna be like, oh, let's test it, and it's like, oh, it was this dwarf from Spokane or something. It's like, oops, one Cooper's. Mary John says she prefers Atlanteans. There's a good who wrote that song Atlantis? Donovan has a good song from the 60s called Atlantis, which is good. Let's see. Okay. It's now the Electra Rock is what Mary John says. All right. So moving on. After Tom, so Tom K's going to have another thing on Sunday where he's either going to talk about Tina Barr or he's just going to do a Q&A, because every CooperCon I've been to, Tom K gets like ushered off, like right as he's getting revved up. And it's like, and Eric would show up with like the stick with like the hook on it to like drag him off stage. It's like, no, we want to hear. So next, we're going to have a guy named Fred Pointer, who is a journalist who he's going to talk about kind of the history of DB Cooper in I think journalism, or like how the story's been told in journalism a lot. And my answer would be it's been told incorrectly pretty much throughout everything. It was like I was telling the guys, I was on a podcast or a YouTube channel last night, and I was just telling them that we've got like AD and BC. Like we have pre-vault and post-vault, and that like anything that we wrote, any book that was written before the vault files came out had to rely on hearsay, interviews with people 40 years after the fact, or newspaper articles from the time period, which were like terribly wrong. A lot of them, and as I've said before, the biggest like proponent of misinformation of fake news was a 1981 AP article. And that thing, so basically anybody ever who wrote an article about DB Cooper after 81, when they went to their local library, they would see this because the AP is in 500 papers, right? They'd come across this article, which is a long article about DB Cooper, and they would just regurgitate what was in this article. So that article is the first time you ever see loafer with the if you go to newspapers.com and type in like DB Cooper and loafer, very first time is this AP article. Cooper drinking bourbon and water comes from this AP article. Of course, this AP article, I believe, called it a raging blizzard or something. It's like, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, there's that. Yeah, I know. What do you think about? By the way, if I seem extra amped up, I did drink one of these Monster Energy drinks. That might be why I'm kind of jittery, but I'm also excited because I love Darren so much. I'm so glad Darren's here. Let's see. Somebody's asking, I'll ask you this. Darren, what do you think about Amelia Earhart?
I don't know. I don't know. Chris Williamson has done that show about Amelia Earhart for a long time and vanished. He's a good friend of mine. Love that guy. And I think it's so interesting how it's divided into these separate camps. Like you have the Japanese capture, you have the she landed near this island somewhere in the Pacific. And it's not this community of people sort of the way the Vortex is, because you're in one camp or you're in the other.
It's very factionalized. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's okay to say, I don't know. It's kind of like with Tina Barr. It's like, it's not a crime to be like, people ask me all the time, Ryan, what do you think about Tina Barr? I just have to go, I don't know. I mean,
it seems like we should be able to find a plane though.
Well, the Pacific's a big ocean. It is kind of half the planet. So it's very long. That's funny. DB Cooper at large says she landed and was buried on Tina Barr.
Probably wouldn't be the worst Tina Barr theory I've ever heard.
No, actually, it's not. Taken by basically, it's either like with Amelia Earhart, it's like, I think they call it like crash and sink, I think is like, just land in the ocean. Then there's the taken by the Japanese, which that just doesn't seem right. Then there's, I think the one that makes the most sense to me is that she landed on that island, Gardner Island, Nicomaroro, and died there as an outcast. Cause like they found like there's no one lived on that island. So like there shouldn't be female cosmetics from 1930s on that island. And they found those on that island.
But what are the odds that you could do a water landing or some sort of a terrible beach landing in that plane and survive?
Well, I mean, I think that what happened is they did identify a spot that was like that she could have landed, and it tore one of the wheels off, and that wheel, or somehow, like, I believe a British ship was going past that island in like 1939, just like, oh, there's an uninhabited island, some British naval vessel, and a guy, his last name is Bevington, I think, took a photograph of the island, just like, oh, there's an island. And they've enhanced that photo, and there's like a thing sticking out of the water. And Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, had I don't know, whoever she had, she didn't kill anybody, but whoever she had, that's a bad joke, but whoever she had like the State Department use their forensics to look at this object, this thing sticking out of the ground or out of the water. And it literally is exactly the same size and shape as a Electra wheel. Like even like the metal fragments on it are shaped the right way. So it's like, but hey, I could be talking out of my butt. It's like this is like people on like a Amelia Earhart or a Zodiac podcast talking about DB Cooper, right? Like we're kind of out of our element.
Very true.
You know, like, oh, it's rack straw. Definitely. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, people are talking about the Norwich City ship. Okay. An electro wheel rock. Yeah, it was a wheel that looked just like an electro wheel. Okay. Next, though, so we have a doctor from, I believe she's University of Idaho, who's going to be there. Her name's Karen Humes. And she has put together this like crazy detailed flight path map. Like no longer, I think after it's the thing she did for a class of students. And she's bringing a couple of her students and they're doing a presentation on this interactive flight path map that she has made. And I'm pretty sure it's going to become the new, like, instead of me having to keep showing the caveman map, that thing right there, I think that we can use in the future her high-tech gadgetry on there.
I've been waiting to see this for a long time.
Yeah. And it's like super high-tech apparently. So I don't, it's been a secret. I've not seen it, so I don't know. Drew Beeson says smartest person in the room is going to be Karen Humes. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Well, it's going to be a battle between her or Colleen Fitzpatrick when they're in the same room together. Because she's like literally the top DNA scientist in the world, I think, or something like that. But we'll get to her. But, we're jumping around, man, because I got my Monster Energy drink. Somebody says, Darren, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Probably a velociraptor. They just seem cool based on my knowledge of dinosaurs from Jurassic Park.
They can open doors if you think about it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think the best answer I've ever heard to that is somebody was interviewing Noel Gallagher of Oasis. And for some reason, he was talking to a bunch of kids for some reason. And the kid asked Noel, what's your favorite dinosaur? And he goes, Phil Collins. It's like just like that. It's like, what great timing. How smart. Yeah, velociraptors are pretty cool. Yes, the drunkest person in the room will be Chris Cunningham. I don't know though. Chris can handle himself. I'll say that. All of his days wrestling, traveling the country on his wrestling tour. If you didn't know, Chris Cunningham, our esteemed Chris Cunningham, used to be a professional wrestler, went by the name Chris Charger. And there are videos online of him literally jumping off the top rope onto people and stuff. And he may still do it if certain people show up to CooperCon.
He's a wild boy.
He is. He's a wild boy. Let's see. All right. Another thing. Next, though, is I am so excited, folks, because Drew Beeson is finally coming to a CooperCon. Drew has obviously been a favorite in the Vortex for quite a long time. And I know that you and I, Darren, are both like Braden fanboys in some regard, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a Drew Beeson fanboy too. Love Drew.
Yeah. Yeah, Drew's great. His book on the Zodiac's cool. I've got it over there. And his the Yuba County 5 thing is really cool. Like that's not cool because people died, but have you looked into that at all?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Essentially, 5 people of lower, I mean, they weren't like mentally deficient, but they were a little slow. They were on a basketball team, like a special ed basketball team. And they somehow got lost in Arizona and they went missing. And days later they found, or maybe weeks later, they found pieces of their like bodies scattered around. And it's a little mystery of what happened to them. And it's a really wild thing. The Yuba County 5 is a pretty fascinating story. And Drew's got Drew, you're in the chat. Is your book the only book about the Yuba County 5?
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, Yuba County 5. Yeah, Drew, let us know. There's a delay in the chats. He'll get there. Let's see. Oh, it's not in Arizona. Oh, Drew says it's not the only book about the Yuba County 5. I thought it might have been, but there's one called Doug Wright has another book, he says. So, but that's a mystery that, like, what killed these guys? Why would they? And like it was, I don't know. It's really cool. Is Nikki Jay says, is Drew still on Braden? Do we all drink water? Yes. It's like, yes, of course Drew's on Braden. Good Lord. Is Dan Grider wrong? Yes. Of course he is. So yeah, but Drew's coming. Basically that was my very first, like, when we were able to take over CooperCon, like, this is totally 100% true. The very first, like, guest was Drew. I said, hey, Drew, guess what? I have CooperCon now. Me and Cunningham and Peckajack. Please, for the love of God, come to a CooperCon. He was like, I'll think about it. And I was like, don't think about it. Just do it. And so we're really happy to have Drew there. And I know that you'll be happy. Okay, so I'm always wrong. Yuba County is in Northern California. Well, sorry. I don't know these things. Okay, so then Darren will have his interview with William. His middle name is really cool. It's not, oh man. Bill has a really cool middle name. It starts with an A. It's not like Aloysius. It's something equally as cool. William, dadgummit. He has a great middle name. It's William A. Mitchell. And it's like one of the coolest names ever. I forget what it is, but he has a great one. Let's see. Okay, Darren, you can speak to, I want Darren to speak to this next question. D.B. Cooper himself says, Darren should win the Nobel Prize for his patience in interviewing Dan Grider. Tell us about that.
At the time, I didn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for that. It went pretty smooth. Things went real rough for me and Dan sort of after that interview because Dan wanted me to admit publicly that he had solved the case, which I, at that point in time, was not willing to do. And then it went real south from there.
Yeah, that's what he did. He did that to me too. When he ambushed me recently on his podcast or on his show, he was like, he's like, you need to go on your show and use your platform, announce that I have solved this. I'm like, bro, I have an entire 30-minute video on my channel debunking McCoy. So no, I'm not doing that, Dan. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's a sordid history. Dan's an interesting character. By the way, I think the only podcast of yours I've not listened to because the title freaked me out is DB Cooper was a lizard, or no, DB Cooper was not a lizard.
It was not a lizard. That was with the radio guy. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Alan. I can't remember his name. But he released a book where he had all these mysteries combined, and it popped up on my radar and had him on the show. The only thing, listening back to that, he gives so many conflicting answers where he starts out where it's like, well, it definitely could be that. And there's reasons why it could, but here's why it's not. And I don't know. He just had a way of talking like that where it was like, I'm unsure what he actually believes.
And what was his actual point for being on your show?
I'm not even sure what his stance was. He was more of just a fan of mysteries. What was his name?
It was just the title of it. The title of it frightened me. I wasn't sure what to make of it.
Oh, gosh, I can't even remember his name. I don't have two monitors today because I just gave my other one to my son.
Oh, is he? Oh, he has a computer now?
Yeah. So you can play some video
Nice.
games.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm still trying to find daggum Bill Mitchell's middle name, and it's bugging me because I remember I had to figure it out because I had to figure out a redaction on like I had to figure out because on the redactions you can like look and see how many letters are in a name,
Right.
and I had to figure out Bill's middle name to like fill in a redaction, and it was something. It was like it's bugging me anyway.
Alan
All
Warren.
right, so
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you.
what was that?
Alan Warren.
Alan Warren. So what was he even like? What was his purpose?
He just wrote a book about a compilation of mysteries and included a chapter on D.B. Cooper. He wasn't trying to solve the case, or he didn't really have any necessarily hot takes.
It was just one of those.
And D.B. Cooper at large said it first. So
yeah. And people keep saying when is your next episode coming out?
Soon. I have been spending all my time on a crappy old car, but it seems to be going now. So
good.
After CooperCon, I'll get back to work. All right.
Hey, look, I mean, honestly, I was looking at it. You had like a hiatus there for quite a while.
Oh, I've had quite a few hiatuses where I'm like, okay, I have to concentrate on my life for a minute.
Right. Yeah. And it was like, damn. But then you just came out swinging on.
And it sort of happens where I'll have one show and then boom, somebody else reaches out to me, or there'll be I'm chasing all these people. I've been sort of trying to chase down this guy, Jason Ramos, who wrote this book, Smoke Jumper. And he lives a wild life, so he's a little bit hard to track down. But there's like one paragraph in his book about D.B. Cooper. And that's it. But the book sort of traces down the history of smoke jumpers and everything and his experience in it. So I thought he'd be a good guest on the show, but he's a very difficult man to track down.
No, that would be a good one. I enjoyed your interview with I forget his name, the gentleman who did the metalworking stuff.
Oh, Stan Siegel.
Yeah, because
Siegel.
That guy, like you basically had one of the biggest eggheads on the planet about what's on the tie, and he was like, hell if I know.
Yeah.
Like,
even in my emails to him before that, where he was like, yeah, let me take a look at this and see, and he was just like, that's so weird. It's so weird.
He was probably all confident, and he was probably all confident. I can figure this out. Oh no, I can't. That'd be my guess is how he was doing that.
And I was just blown away by how sharp that guy was.
Yeah.
At 90 years old, he got started in titanium in the 1950s.
Like he is that's the well, I mean, the thing about him is that like older people I've noticed lately, like for example, people like who's going to be there, John Detler, he's in his mid 80s. That a lot, or Neil Hansen. If you watched Captain Neil Hansen, the Air America pilot I had on, right? He on my channel, I have an hour or 2 hour interview with Neil Hansen, who flew for Air America, and he is late 80s, and you would think he was mid 60s or something. And it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder about like I wonder. This is a total sidebar for in court lingo. Sidebar is like, let me talk about something else for a second. Like, it's interesting that we're now to the point where we're emailing people who are in their 80s.
Yes,
because you know, if they got email in their mid 60s 20 years ago, and they're still alive, they're still using email. Does that make sense? Like, we're getting, it's almost like, I think about video games, right? Like there are people in their 50s who are super video game nerds. You know, when we were growing up, no 50-year-old was playing video games.
No, definitely not.
And so, like, it's kind of a weird. I'm not stoned, people. It's a weird thought. It's like a high thought, but like, that is the kind of thought you have when you're stoned. But like, I have these thoughts. I remember what it was. Bill Mitchell's middle name. It's Wallace. So he's William Wallace Mitchell, like Braveheart. So William Wallace Mitchell. There we go. Let's see. Jay says that Ryan and Darren are actually in the same room. We just have different fake backgrounds. Well, my background's not fake, and his isn't either. Mine's
fake.
Yes. No, it's not. Don't lie to people. Let's see. It says, Ryan, you should go around the room and record a few interesting people like Bruce, Tom, Nikki. What do you mean go around the room?
At CooperCon, I assume.
Record people? Yeah. Oh, Mary Johns. So
Grider did that, actually.
Oh, yeah, of course he did. All right. Jerk. Mary Johns says that, yes, the redaction of Bill Mitchell's name looks crazy long. I've definitely wondered about his middle name. Yeah, because I wondered that too. It was long. Mary Johns, by the way, Darren needs to do a podcast with her. You should. Mary Johns is in New Zealand. I would say that Mary Johns, aside from myself and Flyjack, is the only other like Cooperite who is as big of a nerd about the vault files. Like, she knows the vault files just like me and Flyjack do. So Mary knows things.
Mary, send me an email.
Yes, Mary Johns, send Darren an email. Mary Johns is awesome. Let's see. Yes, and yeah, Nikki says yes. Then he edited the shit out of them for his documentary. Talking about Dan Ryder.
Yeah,
going around, but that's what he has. Yes, and Drew Beeson agrees. Drew Beeson says Mary is sharp. Yes, she is, and she's a Kiwi, so her accent is cool. It's going to come across good on the podcast.
Definitely, you get a few points for a cool accent.
Yeah, you had a Kiwi on recently, Stuart, which was a good. That was a good interview, and I think my favorite thing that you've done, my favorite interview that you've done, Brandon Arnold was on your show, and
that was a really fun one.
Brandon made me laugh out loud because he was like, we're talking about like the effects that DB Cooper had on life, on people. And Brandon's like, maybe if DB Cooper never existed, Ryan Burns would be a better lawyer. Like, I was like, what a great line. He was like, Ryan, it's like Ryan might walk into a courtroom and he spills his paperwork and it's DB Cooper clippings.
Yes, exactly. Which that's happened to you before, hasn't it?
I have had people ask me about things because I've been in courtrooms waiting and I've been like editing my book and stuff. Like, I'll print out copies and like, what are you looking at? I was like, oh, well, it's DB Cooper. What's weird about DB Cooper stuff is everyone knows about DB Cooper. Not everybody, but like a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you agree? That like more than you would think, I'm saying. Like,
know of it, yeah.
Know of it, yeah. And like it seems like because of the numbers we get that it's a lesser known, it doesn't get the numbers that a Zodiac thing would get or something. But again, I had to write a pitch for my book that goes to publishers, and I believe I sent it to you. But like, one of the things is like, there's a Netflix documentary, there's a Hulu documentary, there's an HBO documentary. There is an appetite for DB Cooper stuff. It must be successful. It's not like, I'm pitching a book about 19th or 17th century forks. I'm pitching a book about Cooper, and so people like that.
But what I find interesting is someone finds out, oh yeah, Ryan, he's obsessed with this DB Cooper case. And then you meet this person and they're like, okay, so you're the DB Cooper guy, right? And you're like, yeah, that's me. And then no follow-up questions. Nothing like, I want to know about this. Nothing about what's your take on this. It's just, oh, you're the DB Cooper guy? Okay, yeah, cool. No follow-up questions.
Yeah, that is kind of lame. But it's weird. It's like, So I'm in a family group text with like my brother and his daughters. My brother's got 4 daughters, and one of my nieces messaged, and she goes, she goes, and she lives in Denver. This is my niece, and she goes, DB Cooper came up. One of my coworkers was just talking about DB Cooper, and he started talking about Ryan, and I go, I know him. That's my uncle. And they're like, what? So I was like, oh, okay. I'm being talked about by baristas in a Starbucks in Denver, Colorado. Okay. That's kind of cool. Let's see. It's just the guy. Yeah. Yeah. And Prison Break got some DB Cooper pub, that TV show. Certainly.
Yeah. Loki did some good for the case.
Yeah, see, DB Cooper himself says DB Cooper is dead around him. Nobody's willing to discuss it with him. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, me too. No one in my real life wants to talk about DB Cooper. Same.
It's like when Drew Daniel was on your. There's Drew again. There's Drew in the pod. Yeah, when Drew was on your pod, when I first met Drew, he was at our tailgate for an Ole Miss game. And he starts talking about DB Cooper, and everybody, all my friends and closest friends are in there, and they're like, what? Ryan does what? And Drew's like, you don't know that he does DB Cooper? It's like, no. Because like, I don't need to talk to people. I don't know. I can separate like real life from this stuff, It's always on the brain.
I have friends in Washington. I was like, hey, I'm going to be there for CooperCon, and maybe come see me, or we can hang out somehow. And they're like, oh, you're still doing that DB Cooper thing? It's like,
oh yeah, only did 10 podcasts the past calendar year about it. Yeah, still doing it. Yeah, I know. We're just nerds. But so what do you have? So you're going to interview Bill Mitchell, which have you ever spoken to Bill?
I have spoken to Bill. Yeah, it would have been at 19 at Von Ebert, hanging out with Bill Mitchell.
Von Ebert? What is that?
Yeah, brewery in Portland.
Oh, okay. Wait, y'all didn't go to V23 back then?
We did also, but I think there was a meetup at Von Ebert in 2019. And I remember like me and my friend Ben sitting across from Bill Mitchell and Lisa Story. And then Lisa Story had we showed up a little bit late, and she had bought a pizza, and there was some left, and she was like, do you guys want some pizza? And me and my friend Ben just devoured the rest of Lisa's pizza.
Cowabunga, dude. That's what Ninja Turtles do. Yeah. No, Bill's a cool guy. I tell you, last year was really neat because McNally was there. And I've told this, if I've said it once a million times, I've said it a million times, but seeing Bill Mitchell and McNally interact was really neat. And I think a lot of us kind of kept our distance from them while they were talking, because out of respect, it's almost like Bill's talking to DB Cooper in a way,
Oh, yeah. You want to be an audience member for this.
Yeah. And I was like, I just wanted to watch, and they got along. They were friends. And, even I tell this joke all the time that even, Bill was on stage and they were talking about the victims of DB Cooper and how there are real victims of DB Cooper. It was not a victimless crime. And he looked at McNally. He goes, yes. And Marty here in our audience. And Bill was almost in tears. Bill's like, Marty here, because of this guy, spent 38 years in prison. And Mac's like, well, if it wasn't that, it'd have been something else. It's like, okay. But, Mac always makes everybody laugh. I wish Mac was coming this year. He's got some health issues. He's okay, everybody, but he's got some health issues, but he's not able to come. But yeah, Nicole says that Cooperites are the most random group of awesome nerds that otherwise would never cross paths. I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And everybody is out of 1,000, if there are 1,000 Cooperites, only 5 are disagreeable people, really. Most, you know what I'm saying, in person.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, everybody gets along. Even enemies get along. Especially when you're in person, everybody can play nice. But it's funny. Some of my good friends, like I get in battles with people sometimes. Like Dave Feudman and I can go 10 rounds in a boxing match. And then like the next day we're texting like, hey, what's up? You know, it's all, you can't take it too seriously because the bottom line about Cooper is none of us know a damn thing.
Yes.
Really. Right. It's
like arguing who's going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, the Chiefs, of course, because the NFL scripts it. Right. It's a joke. It's always the Chiefs. If you read the as long as Mahomes is the quarterback, it'll be the Chiefs. He's supposed to win, especially is the battles. Yes, Brad Legg's talking about the battles with Eric and Ryan. Yeah, that was Darren wasn't on Facebook. He never saw those. But
I stay out of that stuff.
Yeah, Eric and I, there are actually some pretty good memes out there of me and Eric talking to each other where I would bang my head against the table sometimes. I'm like, Eric, stop. You know, like I think I'm trying to think. I think the best one with me and Eric, I love Eric, but he always bugged me with the flight pass stuff. But the one that really bugged me was when so obviously the money's found on Tina Bar with rubber bands, famously. Brian pulls it out, the rubber bands disintegrate. We know that the Cooper money had rubber bands on it, but we also know that the Cooper money looked like this. It also had bank straps on it, paper bank bands on them, along with rubber bands, right? Well, Eric believed that there were no paper bank bands on them because there were no paper bank bands found at Tina Bar. And of course, duh. I mean, those things are going to disintegrate over 9 years. It's the thinnest paper you can imagine. It's a bank strap, So of course they wouldn't still be there. And Eric's like, well, they weren't there at Tina Bar. I said, Eric, it doesn't matter. And then I point out to Eric, I'm like, Tina Mucklow got off the plane, talked to the FBI at the Reno airport. They had her describe the money. Tina Mucklow said it had bank-type bands on it. And Eric goes, well, I mean, obviously she's talking about rubber bands. I'm like, bro, like no human in all of history has ever called a rubber band a bank-type band, And by the way, the best DB Cooper fantasy football name I've ever heard, Drew Daniels, is bank-type bandits, which is just really funny. The bank. No way,
my name is way better.
What is your team name?
Rekka Your Pekka.
Rekka Your Pekka, that's it. We do have some.
Even though it's Pika, but Pekka is.
Is it Pika's? Well, I would know.
Pika and Rekka.
Pika and Rekka.
But Rekka Your Pekka is way better.
Rekka. Yeah, the bank type bandits for some reason just made me howl out loud.
Bank type bandits is good. I also really love Tina Barflies.
Tina Barflies is a good one. Yeah, what are I'll just go through for our listeners. What we do have some good ones. Let me look at our for the people who are wondering, our league. It's all it's a DB Cooper league, and we've got Rekka Your Pekka. We have the circulated 20s. We have 8 butts and big nuts, which is a good one. We have the Occam's razors. Mine is flaps down and goal to go. There's commercially pure TD, which is funny. The Sky Chefs, great one. The Lake Merwin Ghosts. Metals R and TD. Northwest Disoriented is a good one.
That's a good one.
Intentional Grounding. Tina Barflies. The Cooper Connection. It's a good one. The Cold Checkdowns. Yeah, we have a great league, and I'm pretty sure I'm dead last. I think. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. Let's see.
Yeah, you and Chris Cunningham, just you're terrible.
You suck at
terrible.
It. Yes. Yeah. Jay says Eric will solve this and have Brad Pitt play him in a movie. That's not far off. I could. Well, the part about him solving Cooper is far off, but Brad Pitt playing him in a movie, I could perhaps see something like that. Let's see. This discussion is becoming too esoteric for me. Well, that's what we do, man. After 54 years or 53 years, what else are we going to talk about? Let's see. Okay. Let me look at some. Everybody's talking about the fantasy football. Okay. Next, though, so is there anything in particular? Just curious. You're interviewing Bill Mitchell. Is there anything in particular you'd like to ask him that you've thought about ahead of time?
Yeah, one of the things I'm curious about is not even necessarily in the hijacking, is just seeing this on the media, seeing this on TV, like the Unsolved Mysteries comes on. What is that like? And does that bring something back? Do you not care? Do you want to distance yourself from that? That's the kind of stuff I'm real curious about. Because, I mean, I've spoken to him. There's nothing that I could ask him that would instantly solve the case that no one has asked him about being on that plane. I'm more curious about the experience of having done this, and then, you're part of the story not by choice. Because if somebody asks me about DB Cooper, I chose to be in this wacky community. I'm choosing to stay here. Bill Mitchell never chose to be a part of this.
Yet he purposely and willingly avails himself of us all, which is wonderful.
Well, I don't even mean of the vortex. I mean of the event itself. Like, he did not choose to be a part of that event.
And what's it like to see yourself as part of something that's bigger than yourself that you didn't choose to be a part of? Yeah.
Yeah. And like, just what is that like to see that on TV, all these books? I'm living in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. He's been around it his whole life. And it's like, yeah, I was that guy next to him. And it's like, you could tell that at a bar, and everybody be like, yeah, right.
Yeah. Because if he moved to Aledo, Illinois or something and lived there the rest of his life, Cooper's not going to come up a lot.
Right. Yeah. He tells that story. He told us a story at breakfast a couple of years ago about how his wife and he were driving through America. They did like a tour of America, just driving around, which sounds cool. And they were driving somewhere and they were passing by, is it Shanksville, PA, where Flight 93 crashed? I think it's Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I think it's Shanksville. And they went to the Flight 93 Memorial, which is a National Park Service site. And that he was just like off by himself, and he got really emotional there. He said he had tears in his eyes and was and one of the park rangers walked up to him and was like, "Hey, sir, you okay?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I was on a hijacked flight myself one time." And this park ranger goes, "You're Bill Mitchell from DB Cooper. This is in Pennsylvania." And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And he thought that was so interesting that like people know him. But the main thing that bothered him about it was that, because he believes that the bomb was real. Because I mean, I could see that. Like I could see myself if I was Bill Mitchell thinking about, I bet that was real, because the consequences of it being real magnify the emotion. I don't know how to explain that.
I've said this a million times. It doesn't matter for the people on board whether or not it's real.
Precisely.
You and I can debate whether or not it's real. But if you and I are on an airplane and some dude is like, "I got a bomb," we're not going to debate it then.
Especially if we never know whether it was real or not. We're going to err on the side of it being real. And gosh, you and I, okay, so it's always, what are your current odds on real or not? They fluctuate.
I'm saying 51% real. I used to say 95% fake. Now I'm saying 51% real.
Yeah, I guess I think I'm still leaning. I think I'm with you. Dave Feudman made a good point, though. Dave said, and it's something I never thought about, really. I was like, well, that makes sense. Dave said that because obviously, Cooper had his hand in the briefcase and he's got wires. He said, I just have to connect this doohickey to this, because according to Flo, she said, all they have to do is attach this wire to this gadget here and we'll all be dead. And Cooper always has his hand in his briefcase. Dave's like, if that was how your bomb detonated, you wouldn't have your hand anywhere near anything that would set it off. Because maybe turbulence would hit and you know. I was like, that's a good point. And that's actually that's actually a good point. But the problem is about it didn't need to be that convincing. That's why I lean toward maybe being real. Right? Is it didn't need to be. Again, I tell people he could have had a McDonald's. He could have had a bag from McDonald's and said, "Oh, there's a bomb in there." Okay. I mean, hell, McCoy hijacked with a grenade from like a paper. It was a paperweight grenade, I think.
Yeah, a gift shop grenade.
Right. So doesn't matter. I think my favorite like bomb story is McNally when Mac was trying to bust out of prison in one of the many times he tried to get out. When Mac was, I think during I think it was 1978 when the 15-year-old girl hijacked the plane for McNally and somebody else and Garrett Trapnell. She had dynamite strapped to her body, and a construction worker had to go pee. And she hijacked this 747, and she demanded the release of McNally and Garrett Trapnell. And this construction worker like goes to pee, and he's walking back and goes, "These are road flares!" And he just sees them and goes, "Oh, they're road flares," and tackles her. And that's how that ended, because he was, so don't let the construction workers get close to you, people, because not only are they strong, but they know things. Let's see. Let's see. And Mac had a real gun. Yes, Mac had a real gun. Absolutely. Mac also used the threat of a fake bomb. Also, Mac said he had a bomb and didn't have a bomb. That worked too.
Didn't McCoy have a real pistol, but it wasn't loaded?
Yeah. When he sent to the cockpit a note, and he also sent the pin on the grenade that you pull,
which is a great move. I love that. Love that. That's a cool move.
But I think he also sent a 45 caliber bullet too from his 45. He had a 45 pistol. But see, it was a real gun. Mac's gun was definitely real, and Mac has said many times he came real close to actually shooting somebody on that plane. I mean, Mac was a scary dude back then for sure. Not so much anymore, but he's elderly. But Max was real. I think all of them had real guns. The only one who fired a gun, Rob Hetty actually fired, who I couldn't get to come to CooperCon this year, but Rob Hetty actually fired. Rob Hetty goes on board with a .357 Magnum. Now, if anybody knows anything about guns, that is a humongous pistol. And he fired that inside of an aircraft on the ground. That would be deafening. And it shook up the stewardesses really bad when he fired that, because everybody on the ground's like, he shot a stewardess, and they were going to storm the plane, and the pilots were like, no, he just fired it into the ground or whatever. So okay, yeah, a dirty hairy gun. That's exactly what it is. Nicole says, would it be possible for Cooper to have something hidden, like a small weapon, under the bomb that he was keeping his hand near? Well,
yeah, we've discussed this before. It's very likely he had a gun.
Yeah, on his person somewhere. I mean, I think that's almost probable. I would say not even. I mean, more likely than not he did, because again, if somebody calls your bluff on the bomb, then that's it.
Yeah,
you have to have a contingency plan, and also it works to a pistol's going to help you on the ground too. For example, McNally had a pistol that nobody saw. McNally had a submachine gun, but he also had a pistol hidden on him. And he was going to use that if he had to carjack somebody on the ground. He was like, I need a pistol on the ground in case I have to carjack somebody. It turns out he didn't need to carjack anybody, because the sheriff of the county gave him a ride into town unknowingly, which is, as I've said a million times, McNally used Robert Wilson as his alias. if Mac had got away with it, DB Cooper would be a footnote. We would be the Robert Wilson mystery group. Because, like, his hijacking is basically DB Cooper's hijacking by comparison is like a mathematics textbook to McNally's hijacking, which is like a John Grisham novel or something like it, by comparison of excitement. Like Cooper's hijacking is really cool, but not a lot happened by comparison, really. Like in Mac's hijacking, you had a drunk crash into his 727 as it was lifting off the ground. Mac had to change planes. Mac was given a ride into town by the sheriff of the county. Mac stayed in the hotel for 3 days with the FBI agents who were looking for him. McNally had the buffet breakfast every morning with FBI agents who were looking for him. Like, could you possibly imagine if we found out that I think his name was Gene Cotton was the sheriff of Clark County at the time. If Gene Cotton gave DB Cooper a ride that night, it came out later on, we were like, oh my God. And what's funny is the FBI, the feds, when they were trying McNally, they did not need the sheriff of that county to come to court to identify DB Cooper or to identify Mac, because they had the stewardesses there to say, that's the guy, right? But to humiliate the sheriff, the feds subpoenaed him to appear just so they could say, who was the guy that you gave the ride to that night? Is he in the courtroom? Yeah, that's him. Like, good God. He was like,
well, is that better though than McCoy flying a helicopter looking for himself?
Looking for himself. That is pretty good. What's funny is that there is video footage of two Hueys that they show in all their McCoy documentaries of two National Guard Hueys flying around. McCoy's piloting one of those. So there is film footage that you can't see inside the helicopter, but McCoy is in that film footage somewhere flying that thing. It's just like, yeah, so that's a good one. That's probably, I also like the one where, with Richard LaPointe's hijacking, who was the first real copycat. During LaPointe's hijacking, they pulled several people out of line who were suspicious, but not him. It was like, okay, I guess he got by. I love that. Let's see. Let's see. David Wilmot says, I was relating some of Mac's life to my parents, and my mother said it sounded like a movie. Well, it's going to be. It's called American Skyjacker. And they have wrapped filming, and I believe Mac said that it's coming out next year at some point. But yeah, look, Mac's story, I mean, Mac ends up running for president from prison. McNally is the reason why federal prisoners pay for postage. So for those who don't know, federal prisoners did not pay for postage through all of American history until McNally and Garrett Trapnell decided to run for president and vice president from prison in 1980. And they sent out like 5,000 flyers asking for donations for their campaign with free postage. And the Solicitor General of the U.S. went to the Supreme Court and said, hey, prisoners are now abusing this. We got to get rid of this. So Martin McNally is the reason why federal prisoners pay for postage. And Mac says, of all the things I've done in my life, that was the dumbest because, he's like, they were having to pay $35 million a year in postage and I ruined that. It's like Mac is such a troll. And for those who are new listeners, McNally wrote a letter a year after his skyjacking. Mac bought a round trip ticket for his hijacking. Mac wrote a letter to the president of American Airlines asking for a refund on his return flight because he never used it. He said, I didn't use my return flight because I jumped out. It's like, what a troll. Like Mac was like trolling before it was cool. It was like,
it's a ballsy move.
Mac is a gangster. Yeah. I mean, and the fact that like Mac somehow got out of prison with like $40,000 in stock because Mac heard that they were going to ban smokeless tobacco in federal prisons, like starting a year from then. So Mac hoarded everything he could buy of like, he said his entire prison cell was nothing but like cans of Skull, like from ceiling to floor. And that when the prison ban went into effect, he sold it all. And he was selling, you know, when it would have cost $2, he was selling cans of Copenhagen for like $40 to prisoners. And he had all this cash. And he goes to the warden saying, hey, I'd like to invest this in stock market. Can I do that? He's like, yeah, I can hook you up with somebody in the stock market. And Mac got a stock market, whatever you call them, an investor. And this was right when the crash happened in 2008 or whenever it was, and the recession. And his stock market guy bought a whole bunch of stocks for cheap during that time. And so when Mac finally gets paroled, hey, here's all this cash. His dip money turned into some pretty good money from Mac.
Why'd they ban smokeless tobacco? Was it like a cleanliness thing? Dudes were spitting on the floor or something?
I would bet so. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that is kind of gross, especially if, you know, it's a pretty good way to get shanked.
Somebody else has to clean it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems like a pretty good way to get shanked too, especially if you spit on somebody or it's not a good idea. So let's see. Okay, so the next day, going to Saturday. Starting off, we have a Paco Jack Limbach, International Man of Mystery, Lauren Skip Hall. So the winner of our Vortex poll, Skip Hall, girl's name. So he went by Skip. If you have a girl's name, you have to go by something else. So he went by Skip instead of being called Lauren. So Skip Hall should be a fun one. And
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, both of us are in. I've actually seen some. There's some new stuff that Packer's going to have, and I've seen some of it. It's really cool. Skip is if nothing else, it's like I didn't ever think that anybody could compete with like Ted Braden's story, but Skip Hall competes for sure.
Well said.
Right? Like I didn't think that there would ever be like a rogue number 2. Well, there's now 2 rogues. It's like it's like I said in that video I made. I was like, I don't know if these guys would plan a heist together or end up in a pistol duel in the street if they met each other. Like, I don't know. But I mean, like, Skip Hall goes from like literally, I mean, he might have Braden beat. I don't know. I mean, Braden didn't hang out with Che Guevara and Castro in the 50s in battles. And Skip Hall did. And Skip Hall ends up cooking meth as a meth cook. He becomes Walter White in his old age. Like,
yeah,
to go from
glossing over all the JFK stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the guy, like, quite possibly, maybe almost likely was involved in JFK's assassination.
Yeah.
I mean, probably a good, I will play this clip again because I do love this clip.
Because I'm not in contact with anybody from Texas.
You give the impression that you wouldn't like to go to Texas at this point.
Well, if I wanted to commit suicide, I would probably go to Dallas, Texas.
I love that.
And he's smiling.
If I wanted to commit suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like grinning the whole time. His little shy grin there. What a trip. By the way, I'm looking at my video clips, and I came across on here for y'all. This is my favorite passenger. This guy's name was William J. Murphy. This is a great clip of a passenger, of a D.B. Cooper passenger. Listen.
Could you tell us what you saw, sir? I didn't see a damn thing.
Well, were you in the front or the back?
I was in the forward portion of the plane. I saw nothing. I know nothing. I was treated well, and everything was wonderful as far as I was concerned until we landed.
When did you first learn there was a hijacking involved?
I did not know until we got off the plane.
All right, for y'all who couldn't hear that, it was kind of low, but I just love it. He goes, I didn't see a damn thing. I saw nothing. I know nothing. Leave me alone. Which is,
and I didn't see a damn thing would have been edgy to say in 71. In
I know, and that's when people start laughing, and yeah, so all these all these clips, but anyway, let's see. I'm gonna play another clip for everybody just because we're having fun. This came out. Hope everybody can hear this clip for those. This is from, in case y'all missed this. This was the Saturday Night Live after the Tina Bar money find.
8-year-old Brian, fire victims trapped in burning buildings, won't listen. 8-year-old Brian, fire victims trapped in burning buildings, won't listen to the substitute firemen and instead pass notes and toss spitballs. 8-year-old Brian Ingram of Vancouver, Washington, did this week what FBI agents have been trying to do for the last 9 years: find hijacker D.B. Cooper's money. Brian is now in custody as the government feels Cooper may have arranged with the Ingrams 9 years ago to have their yet unborn son pick up the money. The youngster facing life in jail says he was framed.
I just love that. The youngster says he was framed. I was framed. This picture of young Brian Ingram saying, I was framed. Let's see.
I'm a patsy.
Yeah, I know. What movie is it from? Is it Look Who's Talking, where for people watching, what is the movie where John Travolta is making fun of Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot? He goes, "It wasn't me, it was the CIA." Like, somebody's going to know that. I remember being a young kid watching somebody making fun of the Oswald being shot photo by saying, "It wasn't me, it was the CIA." So somebody's going to know that. I think it's actually like Look Who's Talking or something. Hey, Nicole says that episode of Saturday Night Live aired on her birthday. Nicole, that is not your age. For people who will meet Nicole at CooperCon, I don't believe that. That's not your age. Okay. Yes. Nikki says his house actually did burn down shortly after he found the money. And you know what's interesting about that? I'm pretty sure when I talked to Brian one time, he said that he thinks that they may have taken Polaroid pictures of the money when they found it, and that those would have burned up in that fire. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure Brian said he thinks that they may have, like, when they found it, because they were on a picnic, that they may have taken photographs of, like, when they found the money, like, here, look at this, and that those burned up in a fire. So, yes. Oh God, that's probably gonna, any tinfoil hatters out there, like, well, they're destroying the evidence. They burned their house down. Somebody was destroying the evidence, and that's not true. Okay, so after the Skip Hall presentation, which is going to be really good, people, because Packer's gonna have a lot of cool stuff. We have a suspects panel, which is just where we're going to talk about suspects, obviously, about the suspects, and we're going to have Ron Foreman there, who is the Barb Dayton chief proponent, I guess, who is also probably, would you agree, of all the people in the Vortex I've met, probably the nicest guy?
Absolutely. Absolutely one of the nicest guys. Super generous, super kind. I have nothing bad to say about the Foremans at all. They're the greatest people. Love the Foremans.
Yeah, and I think Pat, I think her health is getting a little, they're getting up in age a little bit. I know that Pat, I believe Pat had an oxygen tank with her at the last CooperCon. They're getting up in age, so they won't be, these people won't be around forever. So come see them. No, Ron is like, yeah, nobody nicer. Like, I mean, didn't they like make you dinner or something? Wasn't it?
They took me out to lunch. So I did that interview. They had me go to their house, and I really hadn't talked to them really at all. And I showed up. They invited me in. Their daughter Tammy was there. Then we hung out for a little bit. Ron showed me all of his memorabilia, and I'm a car guy, so Ron has a car collection. He showed me some of his stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we did the interview, And then they were like, hey, we could use a little bit of a break. Do you want to go get lunch? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So they took me out to lunch and then went back and finished the interview. And Ron was like, hey, next time you're in town, we'll take you up in the air. I got this plane. And just couldn't have been more kind to me. And it really felt like I was hanging out with my aunt, my uncle that I hadn't seen in a while when I'm just meeting.
Yeah, like that's the vibe I got. I had lunch with them at we sat at the table together at the Museum of Flight. Come to CooperCon, people. At the Museum of Flight, they have for lunch, they have like a cafeteria kind of deli thing that you go in and you have for lunch each time, and that's always fun because you get to have lunch with people. And there is the photograph. I wish I could. I'll have to find it and text it to myself. I'll have to find that photograph from last year and text it. But yeah, here it is. Let me do that. But yeah, there's a little cafe there, and they're the nicest people. What was his career like? Do you know what he did for a living? The Foremans, like what they did?
Gosh, he was like a Navy mechanic. Or maybe an Air Force mechanic or something like that. Because I remember him telling me once that he needed a bunch of hardware for his plane, so he put a bunch of bolts and stuff from work into his lunchbox and took them home. And I remember Pat being like, "Don't say that." We stole bolts from the military 45 years ago.
Yeah,
worried about it.
He would. Yeah, he would. That's pretty funny. That he would, and that sounds exactly like Pat too. Like she would definitely be like, "No, don't admit that." He's like, I could just like they are the cutest like couple ever. And Tammy's important because she actually lived with Barb for a while.
And one of the things that blew me away, like when I was interviewing them, they were like, "Oh yeah," and then she was standing over there and did that, and I was like, "Wait. This all happened in this house that I'm sitting in?" And they're like, "Yeah, we've lived here for 50 years. And I was like, "Whoa, I can't believe that."
This is the Barb Dayton house. Like,
yeah.
And there's the driveway. There is video footage of Barb like driving in their driveway or something, I think. And yeah, that's the house, you know. That's just pretty wild. Yeah, this is so here's a photo. Let me pull this up. This is a photo that I took because I thought it was really cute, but this was at that deli at CooperCon last year. This is Bill Mitchell walking around with his Flight 305 ticket just stuffed in the back of his jeans. Like, I mean, come on, people. And I just thought I just had to sneak that picture because I'm like, that thing is priceless to people like us. And he just shoves it in his jeans pocket, like whatever. I don't care. I mean, he cares, but.
It's not often I'm tempted to steal, but dang.
I mean, I mean, that's the that's so Drew says, I don't know this quote here. Drew says the best quote from the Foreman episode is, "Oh yeah, I killed a guy once. I burned down a building." What is that in reference to?
That is things that randomly Barb said to Tammy when they were living together. It was, I believe she said like they're watching the news and it was like this so-and-so was killed in a road rage accident. Tammy was like, "That's crazy." And then Barb was like, "I killed a guy in a road rage incident once."
That is funny. I burned down a building. That's funny. That is really funny. They said Barb said that offhand to them. Yeah. Let's see. All right. So we've got, let's see, the suspects panel. Now here's the cool one. So after lunch on Saturday, they have agreed to open up the 727-100, which is the plane where the DB Cooper statue is next to. And normally it's not open for people to go onto, but they're going to open it up for us. And that is going to be really cool because the majority of us have never been on a 727-100. And it's my understanding that they are much smaller inside than you think. and that so we'll be able to, see how close these people were to Cooper. And I did that a while back, and I've said this a million times. Sorry for repeating it, but I looked up a schematic of one of these planes because I was just trying to get an idea of how close they were. And I measured Bill Mitchell's right elbow was like on a tape measure, literally on a schematic, was 5 feet on the nose from Cooper's left elbow across the aisle. So 5 feet is not far at all, really. Like I implore you people out there, find a tape measure and hold out 5 feet from you. That is how close he was to DB Cooper for hours and giving him the stink eye for hours. So Bill did get a good look at DB Cooper, and he was crazy close to him. And just like it'll be cool to see, I'd like to see, Cord Spreckle, who is our German immigrant witness, he was in seat 17C. So as we know, ABCD is on the left side of the plane. ABC is on the left side of the plane, and DEF is on the right side of the plane. Well, he was in the aisle seat, one up from Cooper. So Spreckle said that every now and then, because he could tell something was a little fishy with, yes, Mary, the plane does still have all the fittings. The chairs are all still there. Yes, it does. Because on their webpage, I think there is an interactive map. There's like there's some kind of interactive 3D thing that shows the inside of that plane, I believe. And so, yes, that the plane does have all the fittings and the seatings and things like that. So, but Spreckle, though, said that he thought something was kind of weird because, again, stewardesses don't just sit next to passengers for hours. So Spreckle is just one row up and across the aisle. So he's at a diagonal. And Spreckle said that several times he kept doing this, like sneaking looks back, trying to figure out what's going on. So that's how he got his looks at Cooper, was just kind of like looking back a little time. And then, of course, some passengers, Lebissoniere, who I don't write it in the book because I don't want to put it in print, but I think George Lebissoniere was drunk. I think that he is the famous obnoxious drunk. A lot of people who love Cooper, they think that the cowboy character and the drunk are the same person because they're both kind of acting out. Different people. Cowboy was Robert Cummings, who was just an ornery cowboy from Montana who was pissed about the flight delay. But then there was a drunk on the plane. And it's funny, that was one of the questions that is, there's a court document that's in the FBI files from a trial or something like this. And it's somebody's talking about Larry Feingold. Larry Feingold was an assistant U.S. attorney. And Larry Feingold is talking in there, and it's from some court transcript, and it's weird. He's talking about, he goes, the real test that I would say, because he says a lot of people say that they were on the DB Cooper plane. He's like that. What I would ask them, this is Feingold saying, I would say, tell me about the drunk, and because that would let him know if somebody was really on the plane or not, because apparently there was a drunk on the plane, because Bill Mitchell says that when all the passengers got off and the bus pulls up, this little short school bus pulls up, and the passengers pile onto it. And then Robert Furman, I'm trying to get Robert Furman to come. He's also an FBI agent he was not a NORJAC case agent. He did a bunch of stuff for DB Cooper stuff, but he wasn't actually one of the case agents who spent full time there. But he was there that night. Furman is the guy who went on the school bus. He's still alive. I'm trying to get him to come. He might. He's the guy he's the guy who discovered that it was Dan Cooper, because he starts going through the roll of passengers. And before he even starts doing the roll call, Bill Mitchell says, some drunk guy goes, "Hey, how long is this going to take? I got to piss." And everybody was like, okay. So that's kind of funny. But Lebissoniere in his 302 says that he kept getting looks at Cooper because he kept having to go to the bathroom. Well, why are you going to? So that kind of lines up with the guy who was having bladder problems, also being the drunk. And look, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a drunk, but Lebissoniere was a lawyer. And Lebissoniere, when I looked him up, had several DUIs. And as I believe Darren, you and I have discussed before, to get a DUI in the 60s and in the 1950s and 60s was hard.
Yeah.
Normally it would be like, let me just follow you home. They didn't do a lot of DUI arrests back then. So the guy had some drinks, and also his 302. If you read George Lebissoniere, for those, go to my norjack.org page, read George Lebissoniere's 302. It sounds like a drunk person's memory of something. It really does. Because it's like, he was like this hero. The story of the cowboy comes from George Lebissoniere. He's like, oh, there was this cowboy who was blocking the aisle because I had to go pee. And there was a cowboy standing, hassling this stewardess. And he's talking about how Cooper started telling this cowboy, go back to your seat. And the cowboy wouldn't leave the girl alone. So I finally convinced this cowboy to go back to his seat. He's the hero, right? And he's talking about how he says Cooper was wearing a sporty vest under his jacket. A sporty vest. Bro, no, it wasn't.
What the hell does that even mean, sporty?
What I think is that I think that what he was seeing was, let me see if I have it.
A sporty vest.
I think he's actually talking about the guy that I just showed. I wish I could have it. So the first passenger who comes off the plane is wearing a bright red vest underneath his jacket. And nobody else on the plane has what anything could be remotely described as a sporty vest, right? So I think he's describing this passenger with the sporty vest, not DB Cooper. And so, because George Lebissoniere is an outlier, because if you read, because every time they go to George Lebissoniere with a sketch, he's like, the sketch is wrong. And every other passenger's like, sketch looks good to me. And Lebissoniere's like, no, it's wrong. And it's like, his nose was big and he had a wide face. And it's like, okay. So everything Lebissoniere says about Cooper is like some kind of weird outlier. So I tend to think he was the obnoxious drunk. Just my opinion. I think it's an educated opinion because of his frequent restroom breaks. His 302 is bizarre.
I assume he's dead now.
Yes. Lebissoniere died in the 80s. But I think he's talking about a different person. I really do. So anyway, okay. No, the cowboy was not fast talking and confident. By the way, has Drunk History had a DB Cooper episode? Yes. And
yeah,
I reviewed it. So A. Anthony Peculius is his name. I have an entire video on my page where I reviewed all of the DB Cooper media. And I had Drunk History in there, and Comedy Central kept copyright infringing it. And I was even reversing the image and stuff. I couldn't get around it. So I did a Drunk History DB Cooper. Yes, there is a Drunk History episode. It's funny, as they are, except he goes out the side door. I mean, but it is what it is.
And also into a storm, I believe.
Yes, and he's sitting in the middle of the plane, and and the pilot goes back there and talks to him, and just like the Max Gunther book.
If you're relying on a show called Drunk History as your
Yes.
source of information, then
yes. So yes, there is a Drunk History episode. Let's see. Okay.
Nikki asked a question earlier I want to answer, which
Yes,
is
please,
what
please.
was my favorite memory at CooperCon? I have a definitive answer for that.
Okay, wonderful.
And it was after Victor 23, I got a text from Brian Woodruff that was like, hey, I can't hang out there, but if you and your buddy want to come hang out at the Ariel store,
The late Brian Woodruff.
The late Brian Woodruff. Then you guys can come hang out for a little bit. And so me and my friend Ben Holland, who doesn't live that far from the Ariel store, we drove over there, and it was just Brian and Ben and myself. And we like brought a case of beer, and Brian lit a fire, and then we just went through all of the memorabilia that he had there.
No way.
It was an absolutely incredible night. I'll have to find this, but Bradley Cooper, the My Dad Was DB Cooper guy, that book. He went down to the Ariel store when that book came out and gave Brian a hat that his dad wore and a pair of sunglasses that his dad wore that were like the old person sunglasses over your regular glasses. And Brian's like, oh yeah, Bradley Cooper gave me these. They belong to his dad, who he said was DB Cooper, but I don't believe that. He wasn't DB Cooper. And I'm looking at him, and Ben, my friend Ben, was like, put them on. So I put on the hat and I put on those glasses, and my friend Ben took a picture of me. I'll have to find it because it's like one of my favorite DB Cooper memories and everything. Just like we're just drinking beers and hanging out and goofing around with all this Cooper memorabilia. It was such a great time. It was so wild. I will find that picture, and I'll post it somewhere where some people can see it, or I'll just send it to Ryan for other people to post. But it's just like me in a red sweatshirt doing like thumbs up with a goofy hat and glasses. But they were like these special, they belong to DB Cooper from Bradley Cooper's dad.
That is wild.
Yeah, he gave me either 1 or 2 copies of Ha 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 that night, and he showed me a box that he had that had 57 more copies in it or something like that. And just, you know, Donna had saved every newspaper clipping about it, and people would bring her things and bring her gifts, and there was artwork, and it was just an incredible collection of stuff. And Brian was so kind and generous.
Lots of Dwayne Weber stuff in that place, right?
Oh, there was a lot of Dwayne Weber stuff. There was quite a bit of Kenny Christensen stuff, which he had a falling out with Blevins, so he was like angry that he had some of that, but he, yeah,
shocking.
He had a bunch of obscure books that are like, he probably had 10 books that I don't know if I've seen since then that were like self-published, even back in the 80s kind of things where, you know, maybe you had access to a fancy copy machine at a law office. And so you printed your 85-page book and then just stapled it together. And he had some really, really cool, interesting stuff. But he was also, because I was like, I'll take whatever you got. Anything that you're willing to give me, give it to me. But he was like, no, this stuff's awesome. This is my stuff.
Was there a copy of the Anna Friday book? And that's the one that I'd like to have. What's the title of that book? The Anna Friday book. What is it?
The one I'm after is the Midnight, the Midnight Skyjacker, the Midnight Jump. God, I can't remember the name of that book. No.
What is the one that I've got? Night Flight. So, yeah, I think that I've got the first. Let me see. Let me go grab that off my bookshelf. Let me see. I think I might have. So, yeah, I think that this one might be the first DB Cooper book that was ever actually published. It cost me $100, but it's called Night Flight for Ransom by Leroy Gray. And let's see. Let's see. When was this published? I don't know. Let's see. Well, it says 1980, but I guess that is not. Maybe it's not the first one because there's one from maybe the one you're talking about is the one that's
The King of Midnight, something like that.
So somebody's gonna know. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Oh yeah. Nicole's telling that was a fun ride. Yeah, Nicole's talking about last year that she sat in the back seat between Bill Rollins and Martin McNally, which was always entertaining, for sure. Let's see. We did. Let's see. So I found, there's Anna Friday wrote it illustrated. I think that must be the first D.B. Cooper book is the comic book that she wrote. Martin Andrade has that copy. It's called like the Skyjackers Guide to, it's like something like Hold This Bomb or something. Come on, somebody knows it. It's the Skyjackers Guide to Hijacking, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb, or something like that. It's something like that, but it's an illustrated cartoon book, which is really cool. Somebody's got to know what it is. Somebody, come on. Anyway, let's see. Oh, here we go. I've got the picture here. Here's Sporty Vest Guy. Now, I obviously I don't think the drunk was, because this guy's wearing glasses, but like that is a sporty vest underneath the jacket, right? And no other passenger, if we look at the video of the passengers, no other passenger is wearing a sporty vest. Let's see. There's Sporty Vest Guy right there. Look at all these ties these men are wearing. Even a Texas tie there. There's drunk Littleson right there. Staggering out of the plane. Mind you. Oh, there's Robert Gregory. There's Nancy House. There's Spreckle. Nice. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to rewind this and replay this because, and for people watching, I can name some of these people. So let's see. FBI, Northwest Orient lady, FBI. I forget his name. There's Murphy. This is the Air Force guy. There's Olmsted, Martinez. There's one cowboy. There's Drunk Lebesnier. Let's see. There's Larry Feingold. Here's Bill Mitchell. Right there's Bill. Coming up, the bald guy. That's Robert Gregory. Then there's Nancy House. Then there's Cord Spreckle. Let's see. There's Keats. He's a doctor. There goes Michael Cooper, little short guy. Coming up here at the end in a second. Here come the Simmonses right there, Richard Simmons. And coming up, the very last guy is the famous cowboy, looking all pissed, coming up in a second. Here comes the cowboy. Look how pissed he is. God damn it. You know, so there's the cowboy. But anyway, it took me a while to figure out who all those people were. Like I was on Ancestry.com, like trying to find pictures of these passengers' names to figure out, like, you know, looking at yearbook photos and things to try to match up who they were. And on my website, I finally figured out who all these people were.
King of the Midnight Blue. That's
King of the Midnight Blue. Thank you. Yes, and somebody got it right. The Skyjackers Guide, or Hold This Book While I Use the Bathroom, is what that Anna Friday book is called. Anna Friday is also mentioned in the Gunther book as well, I believe. I think Max Gunther said that he maybe talked to Anna Friday, or something about Anna Friday is in the Vortex stuff. And folks, there will be, here's a teaser for CooperCon. Okay. Tom K on Friday. I don't know much, but I know I love you. But Tom K will be, I'm not drunk, people, or high, but I'm just having a good time. We're having a good time, people. But Tom K will say something that there will be some information coming out that I think the most crazy vortex thing ever is the fact that a recently paroled skydiving 48-year-old bank robber from Arkansas ends up being arrested for DUI at 2 p.m. in Woodland. What business a recently released skydiving bank robber pilot who's 48 has for suddenly being in Portland the day of the hijacking? Little weird. Wouldn't you agree? Little weird, a little strange. But this is going to rival that. As far as being vortexy, this is going to, what's in my cup? Melted Coke, actually. Mostly ice Coke. But no, yes. Yeah, Darren's right. Says vortex going to be flipped on its head. There will be something very, very, very vortexy. Yeah, Mike Davis, he says, yeah, there's no way it's just, in hell, that's just a coincidence. Yes, Mary Johns, that's suspect number one. Yep. That is Joseph Johnston. I know that because I'm a nerd, because Joe Johnston was a Confederate general in the Civil War. So I always remember Joseph Johnston. So that's my dorky way. But
I need to reread Skyjack, because towards the end of Skyjack, he sort of goes on this conspiracy of maybe there were a bunch of people on the ground involved in this big thing.
Yeah, that's the guys. Yeah, that Bruce looked into that. That's the thing about the guys who would, like, I think it was a bunch of guys. Some of them had just gotten out of prison, I think. And
yeah, they were just told to sort of like wait around to see if someone shows up, kind of a thing.
Yeah. But like, I just remember, and again, I bear with me. I mean, I get new audiences. Hey, Matt, man, I'm over 1,000 subscribers now. I'm getting better numbers. And I will tell that story again. The morning after the skyjacking, the very first lead they get is from a panicked Arkansas FBI agent saying, "I've got your guy. I got him. Basically saying, he's like, "Get this shit." He's like, "Somebody called me and said there is a felon, a guy who just got out of prison, who was taking skydiving lessons in West Memphis, Arkansas, like 2 months ago, who was talking about hijackings. And he's a pilot. He's an unlicensed pilot. And he like, yada, 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 yada. And he's 48 years old. And your guy is in his 40s, right?" And they're like, yeah. And the Arkansas FBI agent tries to get this guy's address. He goes to the post office, because that's where you get addresses for people. He goes, "Hey, this is in Arkansas, right?" He goes, "Will you tell me the address of this guy named Joseph Henry Johnston?" And they're like, "Well, he just moved. He just started having his mail forwarded." "Okay, where's his mail being forwarded?" Some hotel in Portland." It's like, oh my God. It's like, oh yeah. And also this guy was apparently buying flight maps of Washington and Oregon. Okay. It's like, and then the guy gets arrested right in the middle of the DZ at 2 p.m. like for DUI, which is weird. So yes, he was suspect number one. I mean, literally, like his number, it's sub one. He was the first suspect. And what turned it out is they were all excited, and they're like, "We have his mugshot." They got his mugshot from Arkansas or from wherever. And it was like, literally, if you read through the FBI files, it was the first like mugshot shown to the stewardesses. They're like, "This is the guy, isn't it?" And they're like, "No." They're like, "Oh shit." And then they go back and they go, "Hey, so Minnesota FBI calls Seattle, says, yeah, they're saying it's not him." And basically Seattle had figured out, they go, "Well, no shit. We just learned he's in jail." So it couldn't be him. So not him. But it's like, it just makes you wonder if like there was a connection somehow. Like he was supposed to be the ground guy.
Like there was some sort of puppet master?
Well, like not really a puppet master, but just like if he was supposed to be like his accomplice. And while he waited in the DZ, he got drunk and just whatever, because he was an alcoholic or something, right? Oh, and this guy dies in March in Portland at 48 years old, just up and dies. It's like, okay, weird, a little weird. So yeah, it's Very strange. Very strange. So, but this one is, this thing's gonna be very vortexy, I think. So, okay. Let's see, back to the schedule. Okay. So yes, after lunch on Saturday, we get to go on a 727. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. And let's see, then, Chris Cunningham is going to make a presentation about the drop zone reconsidered.
Because he's now a Western flight path guy, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, he's a Clay Elam guy. Actually, it's even worse than that. He's lost his way. He's going to say that Cooper jumped in Philadelphia. Let's see. JJ says nobody got a good look at Cooper. If Tina can't identify Cooper, nobody can. Well, again, as I've said a million times, our best witness is not Tina. It's Florence Schaffner. Because Tina did not look at Cooper. Tina tells the FBI and the FBI files, if you read the FBI files, she tells them over and over again, I didn't see the son of a bitch. She's like, I wasn't looking at him. I saw his side profile. She keeps saying, if you guys want to do a side profile sketch, I could help you out with that. And even Bill Mitchell's like, I could do a side profile sketch. The FBI never did one. I think that would have been tremendously helpful, right? Because we could see,
it would have been interesting in hindsight, but if you're going to put a wanted poster up of a profile, I don't know how helpful that is.
I guess the problem is, we don't know. Well, I mean, we don't know how long that nose is supposed to be, right? We don't know the length of these noses.
Or of the turkey gobble.
Yeah, or what the turkey gobble look like. Yes, we don't know what the length of these noses
turkey
are.
neck, I should say, not turkey gobble.
Yeah, my nose is kind of short, and but some people have longer noses. So that, I think that would have helped to know. Now, you do see every now and then in the FBI files, the witnesses will say the word long for his nose. So I do think his nose wasn't like a little button nose like I've got. I think it was longer because they do every now and then they will use the word long when they're talking about his nose. So I don't know. Let's see. Tina spent hours with him lighting his cigarettes. Yeah, but she didn't look at him. No, Tina was not hiding something. Again, I have lots of videos, newcomers. Texas Cordy. I have an entire video about was the flight crew in on it. Go watch that. No, Tina's not hiding anything. Tina was being a good victim, I guess. And the FBI, law enforcement, I used to be a DA. The advice, if you're being mugged or robbed, is don't look at your perp because it will antagonize them. You're more likely to get hurt if you look at them because you're sizing them up for possible witness identification, right? The best thing to do, if you're being robbed, look down and hand them your wallet or whatever. Don't look at them, right? So that's what you're advised to do. So Tina didn't want to antagonize him, but I do find the interaction funny with Flo. And I found a quote. There's a small paper, and I just found this. I've never seen this before. So that famous press conference where we see, I will play our infamous, part of this clip here. So that famous clip there.
I've paraphrased that badly many times.
Me too. I know. I found some more quotes from that press conference. I'd love because we only see the same ones over and over again. Yes. And there's a quote where Flo is talking to them, and she's saying that basically Cooper kept looking at her, and she says, "So I looked back at him, and he kept looking at me, and I kept looking at him, and they had this awkward staring contest." And finally, Cooper says, "Ma'am, you need to read that note." And she says, "I almost fainted." She goes, "I read it and I almost fainted." It's I didn't know that. But she was scared, but no, she got a good look at him. She was literally had a staring contest with DB Cooper with no sunglasses on. So no, she got a good look. All right. So moving on real quick. Let's see. This is a good one. Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick's going to be there. That'll be a great one. This woman runs the Doe Project which is a FBI. Well, they work with the FBI. They solve cold cases with DNA. She is literally one of the world's experts on DNA. I am pretty sure that she thinks, as far as DNA goes, that the tie is completely useless, like not even remotely useful. Maybe she'll say that, but she solved the Somerton Man mystery. For those of you know, the Somerton Man, the body that this guy who was found on the shore on the beach of Australia with like no identification on him. All he had was some like mysterious like thing torn from a book that was in his pocket or something. So Colin Fitzpatrick's going to be there talking about the DNA. Then Sunday, we get into some parachuting type stuff. We are Pat Boland, a researcher. She will be with Lee Gossett, who is an Air America veteran and a smoke jumper. So we have discussed smoke jumping and Air America a lot in the Cooper world. And Pat went and found a smoke jumping Air America guy. His job for quite a while was, I thought I had this, I always feel like I always have that thing off. Anyway, I don't have the video, but he was shoving stuff out of a 727 for a couple years. So it's pretty cool.
The cargo kickers we're always talking about.
Yes. The cargo kickers. Yes. He was a cargo kicker. And
I'm
also
really excited about that one.
Me too. Yeah, me too. And he also knew, it turns out he knows a lot of these early suspects from Air America. He's like, oh yeah, I knew that guy. Yada, yada. He was not himself interviewed. But also cool, a Vortexy last name, Gossett. Then we have Tom Kay again, doing Tina Barr stuff. Then we have an Ask the Experts panel, which is like a Q&A, just whatever. Then my favorite, the thing that I really want to see is our parachuting experts panel. So Cooper, generally, we think the Vortex has always thought that Cooper was kind of one of three things: a smoke jumper type guy, possibly a skydiver, or a military jumper, a paratrooper. Well, we will have Gossett, who was a smoke jumper, Air America guy. Okay. We will have Mark Meltzer, who has been skydiving recreationally for over 50 years, and our new good friend, who might be a good person for your podcast, Mike Davis, who was the 82nd Airborne's Paratrooper of the Year a couple years ago. Mike Davis will be there. So we're going to have an expert skydiver, an expert smoke jumper, and an expert paratrooper all together. And Darren gets to ask them, who the hell was Cooper? Which one of you was Cooper? Going by the evidence. So are you excited for that?
I am excited for that, but I do have one other secret. I was on some other aviation show talking about Cooper to promote this. And I have a 40-year skydiving veteran of all types, military, recreation, smoke jumping, who is super confident Cooper died in the jump, which I'm very excited about because every other skydiver I've ever talked to was, oh yeah, I could survive that jump.
Hell, Mike Davis said he would do it for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said this before, but like people that skydive are a cocky group by nature. And a lot of that has to do with what they're doing for a career or for fun. So most people aren't doing something with this inherent adrenaline rush and risk and everything like that. And the kind of people who are doing that they tend to be, and I'm not using that in a bad term. They're cocky. I could do that. Yeah, no problem. I'll do that. Not like that's their personality type, but in like, hey, you have 47 jumps. Can you do this Cooper nighttime jump into unknown territory? They're always like, oh yeah, I would do that.
Right. Yeah, Mike's like, I'd do it for fun. Because somebody's like, Mike, would you do the DB Cooper jump for $20,000? He goes, I'd do it for free. Like, Mike has jumped out of helicopters and all kinds of things. So Mike Davis, I'm glad he's going to be there. That's going to be great. Okay, we're wrapping things up soon. Okay, then this bailed me out, people, because I was listed to do a secrets and surprises of the FBI's vault panel or my own presentation. And I had nothing. Because, I mean, look, I get on here and talk for 3 hours every other week. I mean, nothing I would say on there is unique. So I called John Detler. So if those who don't know, John Detler is the only person still alive who was on the sled test, was there that night, was with the Army during their searches. 3 guys were assigned by the FBI to full-time hunt DB Cooper. That was their only job. Because I said, John, was DB Cooper your only job? Just curious. He goes, yeah, that's all I did for years was DB Cooper. He's the only surviving guy who, during the actual, like when it really mattered, like, you know, Larry Carr, we love Larry, Curtis Ng, these guys, it was a hobby case for them. It was
Absolutely.
it was their secondary thing. John Detler's life was DB Cooper for years. He got paid to hunt for DB Cooper. I called him. I said, look, John, please. I sent him a copy of my book and I said, please read it. I said, I am begging you to come, please. I said, and I told him, I said, look, you may not think you're important because you're just you, but you're very important to a lot of us. Like you mean a lot to us.
I've made that pitch countless times.
Like you're important. You might not
Yes,
think you're important.
I know so many people that care a lot about what you have to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have to say
it usually
doesn't
works.
matter. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it usually works, but I got his wife was like, yeah, we can do it. And I think his wife twisted his arm a little bit and he's going to come. So, John Detler will be there. So yes. And that's the only, I'll be doing the interview of him. Like I said, I'm also trying to get Robert Furman to come, out as well, who was there, as well. But Detler's the guy who, after talking to him for about 5 hours on the phone, me and him had a good connection because he was a lawyer. He's the guy I keep talking about who I said, John, just between us boys, just between us Juris Doctorate holders, I was like, what did you guys really think about DB Cooper, living or dying? He was like, oh, we thought he lived. Of course. We all did. Nobody thought he died. And we were like, I was like, really? He's like, yeah, of course. He was like shocked. He was like, well, duh. And come to find out, Chris Brower, the Bloodhound, found an article from where they were quoting J. Earl Milne, who was the special agent in charge of the Seattle office. After he retired, some random article where J. Earl Milne is like, oh, yeah, we all thought Cooper survived. Of course he survived. And it's like, but that's not what they told the press, right? Because, they don't want to encourage copycats or anything. So, we have this image that, if you read Wikipedia, it's like the FBI believes he died that night. Bullshit. No, they didn't. Larry Carr thinks he died that night.
Well, one of my favorite files I ever saw is, I'm sure you can paraphrase this better than me, but it's from like 76 and they're going to have some meeting in San Francisco. And it's like to these agents that are going to attend the meeting, hey, we're going to have a meeting on this DB Cooper thing. We need you all to bring fresh ideas on where to take this case next. Yep. Which is, not only do they not believe that he died that night, they believe they've gotten nowhere in 5 years.
Yes, exactly. And they're panicked because part of them that they're thinking that the statute of limitations is going to run out.
Yes.
And they're like, we got to do something. And what was funny is they were like, well, we can get them on tax evasion. Like they literally,
That's
say
what
that.
the government would do.
Yeah. They're like, well,
you didn't pay your
taxes
on this $200,000.
Yeah, no, literally. They're like, they said that in this meeting. I have the notes. They're like, well, we can get them like we got Capone. Like we can get them on tax evasion. And so that that was their plan, was because they were thinking, because literally people, if the statute of limitations runs out, you could literally come out and say, it was me. And like legally, we can't do anything to you. And so they were like, he might stick his head up and go, I got away with it. And they go, well, we got you for taxes. So like, that was their that was their whole like plan, was to get in for tax evasion. And it was also at that conference where they were talking about how we need to notify people that if they have DB Cooper's money, that we're not going to charge them for having stolen property, because it is a crime to possess stolen property, right? And if you have DB Cooper's money, technically, that is possession of stolen property, you know? So, but yeah, that conference is great because they're like, what are we going to do? And yeah, Detler was not at that conference. I actually asked him, I was like, were you at that one? He goes, no, I'd been off. He'd gotten reassigned.
Was it in San
else.
Francisco, or was I way off on that?
No, it was in San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. They got FBI agents from Vegas, San Fran, Portland, and Seattle to go to it. They're like, what are we going to do? They talked about having a treasure hunt. They were like, we can go to the media and say, we can label it a treasure hunt. We're like, oh, you know, find this money. And they were like, well, but we need to print these, but we have to print the serial numbers in the papers. And just like, so in 71, they go to Hoover. They're like, hey, J. Edgar Hoover, take your dress off and listen for a second. Can we print these serial numbers? And Hoover goes, well, how much is it going to cost? Because papers don't run things for free. And they find out, this is all the goodies in the FBI files. And they find out and they go, it's going to cost $500. And Hoover's like, hell no. And so no, the numbers were never published. Maybe one paper did it like for free.
Yeah, I thought like the Oregonian did it.
Yeah, one paper did it just to be good citizens, I guess. But the rest were like, you know, no, it's going to cost you. Somebody's asking, by the way, Darren, about your car and about your new car here. And I actually just uploaded a picture of it so we can show everybody.
Oh, hell no.
Come on, you want me to show it? It's badass. You want me to show it? Looks
Fine.
cool, man. There's Darren's new car that he restored. Vintage.
I didn't restore it. Stop saying restored it.
Okay.
I just got it to running condition.
Okay. I think it's badass. And what mural is that, by the way?
I'd actually rather not say.
Okay. Well, somebody want to give away your town. There we go.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but yes.
So, yeah, that's my 1986 AMC Eagle.
Yeah, because somebody was asking about your 86 AMC Eagle. I'd never heard of an Eagle, nor had I heard of AMC. So I think
you're not going to see another one on the road anytime soon.
No, that's very cool. What's really weird now is seeing cars on the road that have antique car tags on them, you know, and it's like a car I drove in high school. I'm like, oh my God.
Okay. Can I go on a sidebar about that?
Please.
Okay. I live in Colorado. Colorado is like one of 3 states that follows California's ridiculous CARB, California Air Resource Board bullshit. And so my car is in 1986. It is damn near 40 years old. I am struggling to get it to pass Colorado emissions, which I have not done yet. And I have no idea what goddamn standard they're measuring it by. And the people that are testing it are like, we have no idea. Go ask your mechanic. I'm like, well, what's the standard? Am I trying to run better than a 1986 AMC Eagle? Or am I trying to run better than a 1986 car, which my car probably won't ever do? And they don't know. So my car is running and driving.
Dude.
But I still have to try and pass emissions, which now I have to get a temporary permit to do that because I've already failed twice.
That's bullcrap.
Yeah, it's 40 years old, and I have no idea what standard they're measuring it by.
And
they don't know either.
Oversight.
They tell me that's not their job to explain to me the results. Their job is only to test it.
Is there any way you can have like a kind of like a fake wiener when people take piss tests? Like, is there a way you can have a fake emission?
Oh, have I looked into that? So,
oh, really? Okay.
There might be some things I can't say on here in case the California Air Resource Board is listening.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of different things you can dump into your gas tank that are mostly alcohol that'll sort of temporarily clean up emissions, which I'm probably going to do that on my next attempt. But
That's awesome.
it's ridiculous.
Well,
My car qualifies as a classic car,
yeah.
but it isn't quite old enough because I think in Colorado it's like 1978 or 79 is no
Oh.
emissions, but anytime after that it is. And in previous states I've lived in, it's 25 years. So if your car is more than 25 years old, hey, congratulations for you for keeping it on the road. But in Colorado, they're telling me to go F myself.
I mean, in like, it's supposed to be a libertarian state, like, but I mean, well, I guess hippies have their limits, I guess. Hippies on some things, I suppose.
Right. And there's going to be 4 people from Eastern Colorado that are like, hey, man, there's no emissions where I live. Okay, that's fine. There's 7 counties in Colorado that don't have emissions. Boy, do I wish I lived there right now. But I unfortunately don't.
That sucks. Yeah, some people are talking about this. Jay says he has a 73 CUDA. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Oh, it means Barracuda, Plymouth. That's a really, really cool car. Much cooler than mine. Mine's like a weird geek. It's neat, but other than that, it's a weird looking old car.
Okay. Well, so Darren's going to go soon, but I'm going to go through real quick and I will answer some hot, quick questions, like quick round that I won't spend more than 10 seconds on each question. Let's see. Where are the Tejas Cordy says, is Cooper still alive? Hell no. No. He was a heavy smoker who was in his late 40s, probably mid 40s, probably long dead actually. Schaefer says, any traction on getting the air traffic control recordings from that lady? No. Nope. Let's see. Okay. Ryan, what brand and model of your earbuds? The cheapest things I could find on Amazon several years ago. I have no idea. Let's see. I still think Tina should listen to the Dwayne Weber audio recordings. You never know. Well, I know that Dwayne Weber wasn't Cooper, so that would be useless. So let's see. Let's see. Nikki says, I have jumped out of a jet. It was fun. You sure have, Nikki.
Yes.
That's right. Haven't you? There's very few people who can say that, which is pretty sweet.
I'm jealous of that bastard for that.
Mike says Nikki was the money bag. Hey, that's true. He was.
That's kind of funny.
He was strapped to somebody. That's true. Let's see. Himmel's. Okay. I'll remind people, by the way, please go to our merch store. So dbcooperevents.com, get your tickets. We have merch there now, which is really cool. Ryan, what would you say is the best lead for finding DB Cooper? The hair slide, 100%. That's the only DNA that's legitimate. I believe Colleen Fitzpatrick has said that if we find the hair slide, we can get DB Cooper. Doesn't matter if there's glue on it or anything like that. You can definitely get DB Cooper if you find the hair slide.
Then what is this glue ruined the hair thing?
Tom K believes that because the hairs back then, they used to look at them under a microscope. That was the whole point of having it was hair comparisons. You could get a suspect's hair from a crime scene, then another hair of a suspect and look at them, right?
Right.
And so it didn't matter. So there was glue that kept them in the microscopic slides. And Tom believed that the glue would have destroyed the DNA. Colleen says, absolutely not. No way. She goes, you give us a hair, we can get Cooper's DNA from it. Doesn't matter what condition it's in, which is great. Was Cooper's money ever spent?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, I would lean toward no. It could have been, but I mean, as much as we don't like it, Darren had one of the world's experts on his show that said, if none of it has ever turned up elsewhere, probably not.
Well, I believe, to paraphrase him, the odds that over 9,000 $20 bills go into circulation and none of them in the next 10 years are come up in a flag transaction, he said it was just statistically impossible.
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, I guess you could say, well, he might have gone to Vietnam with it or something. Which,
The first of a few experts I had on my show that I want to disagree with.
I know the bomb guy.
The bomb guy, I'm like, no, this guy doesn't know anything about bombs except for his 40-year career dealing with that.
What's funny about that is I was watching a documentary on the Gulf War the other day, and there's a cool video of Norman Schwarzkopf like walking through a building, and your guest was on there, holding him like an Uzi, doing security for. I was like, oh, that's the guy. That's the guy who's full of crap on Darren's podcast. But
there was when I was looking him up, doing research for the show, there was a guy who made a montage of like clips of him, and it was like Mike Vining looks like a boring accountant. In reality, he's a super badass.
I mean,
in the 70s and 80s, he had those terrible military glasses where it makes you look like a geeky nerd.
And the guy was in Delta Force. Yeah. He's legitimate. He's a badass for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So Berger says, did Bill Mitchell agree with the first sketch at the time it came out? If you're referring to the Bing Crosby sketch, yes, Bill did. Again, people think you're rewriting history by saying the first sketch is a good sketch. Bruh, I'm just saying that the frickin' stewardesses said it looked like that it was fine. Bill Mitchell said it looks good. Like, I'm not rewriting history. I'm just saying what they said. I know that they also said that the second sketch looked good a year and a half later. I know that. But I'm trusting somebody's memory 48 hours later than 500 days later. Sorry. Kill me. Okay. One more thing. Let's see. Before Darren has to go, before we have to go. Didn't Bill Grinnell say that they stopped looking at serial numbers? Yeah, the bank tellers did. But the NCIC did have those numbers cataloged in their database. Yes, Brad says that they call those BCG glasses. Yeah, they call them birth control glasses, those military glasses. They call BCGs. Because they're so dorky. You can't get a chick with them. Let's see. All right, let's see. One more thing. I think that Eric Eulis might find the briefcase. Well, I mean, he might find someone else's briefcase, but not going to find D.B. Cooper's briefcase looking where he's looking. He can find bed sheets from homeless people, but not that. So, yes, get your official merch. Okay, so there was our preview show. We're over 2 hours now. We've gone a long time. Darren, I will be meeting Darren for the first time in person in a week from now.
I was just telling that to a coworker today. I was like, I've talked to this guy for hundreds of hours. And
yeah, it'll be awesome. I know. I love that. That's the cool thing is you get to meet these people. And I just wish McNally was coming. And I wish Marty Andrade was coming. I love Marty and he's not making it. But everybody else damn near is making it. And this is our first year doing this with me and Packer Jack and Chris Cunningham. So everybody will enjoy the Museum of Flight. It is the perfect venue for DB Cooper.
It's going to be great. It's going to be so great.
Off the chain, man. All right.
As Ryan would say.
Yes, as Ryan would say. All right, folks. Well, there we go. And I will. It will end there. Adios, and we will have I will have an after action report, I guess, after CooperCon, and we can discuss these new revelations that are going to come out. There's like I said, really cool one with Tom K. And that'll be it. So anyway, good night and good luck, everybody.
I'll see you at CooperCon.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.